Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I'm watching folks get logged in. Very exciting today to be able to spend a little bit of time talking AI and learning from the incredible Meena Das. I want to kick us off while folks are getting logged in and just do a little bit of sort of business up front. So, real quick, I just want to make sure you know today's session is being recorded. If you have questions, we really want you to engage. We have the Q&A open and the chat open. Please let us know questions you have. Additionally, there's a couple of resources we want to make sure you know about. So first, we want to thank all of our sponsors that make this session possible. We have incredible partners that work with us on educational content regularly, and we couldn't do it without them. Also, we want to make sure you know about the fundraising elevator. Kristen and I had the opportunity to interview Meena for the podcast and have a great podcast with her. If you want to dive more into resources, we will be sure to share out that podcast in the notes. Additionally, we have upcoming webinars as a little precursor to Elevate. Kristen and I are going to be doing fundraising event fundamentals in February, and we hope you'll join us. And we hope we'll see you at Elevate, our 2-day conference about fundraising events. It is a deep dive into all things fundraising events. We are going to spend March 3rd and 4th together. It is a conference that allows you to attend in person in Portland, Oregon, or virtually, so we hope that you'll check it out. You can find information about all of our webinars and educational resources on our website. And for all of our folks that signed up today, we'll be sure to get that out to you. So without any further ado, it is my great pleasure to introduce you to Meena Das, who is here today to talk about the AI Equity Project and all things AI. Meena, welcome. We're so glad that you're here.
Sam, thank you so much for having me. It's honestly a pleasure every time I talk to Kristen and you. So to all my friends, hello, I am Meena Das. My pronouns are she, her. I am joining from beautiful Vancouver, BC, which is the unceded territories of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. I am right now speaking from my home office, so you see a lot of art behind me, some colors, some books behind me. An interesting update from my life is that I have been learning and building curriculum how to teach and talk data and AI through colors and through art. How do we do that? How do we change what we do? Going back to the fundamentals of art. Art has always existed in our on our planet, hopefully. But that is not what we are talking about. We are talking about the AI Equity Project. So let me share my screen. Okay.
While you get your screen set up, I want to let folks know that um, if you have a AI recorder in the session, I'm going to remove it. So just so you know that I'm removing all sort of AI market messaging tools. So kicking those out. All right, Yamina, that looks great.
Amazing. Thank you. Um, Sam, if you could give your beautiful smile, can you hear me? Can you see my screen? Okay. All right. I see that. Fantastic. So we are going to talk about the AI Equity Project, but before I get into that, I want to give a quick introduction. Well, not so quick. I do come from a culture that talks a lot, so why so quick? I have been working with technology, with data, with AI for a very long time. I come from this tech world of working 17 years, doing a lot of different things with data and designing some algorithms. I am a nerdy person who finds joy in talking and working with data. And about 4 years ago, I wanted to change how I work with data. I wanted to align how I look, this color, this accent, with what I do with data. I wanted to be held accountable. I wanted our collaborators to be held accountable. I wanted big companies to be held accountable, the entities to be held accountable in how we shape power out of data, in what we do with that data. So I created this company called Namaste Data, bringing two words that is part of my personal and professional identity to talk about data equity and AI equity. In part of this work came out the project AI Equity Project. this project, and we are going to go in deep details of what this means and where is it coming from. But the short story is that we don't have in the sector, or we do have now, a single place where it gives evidence, numbers, exactly what is the unifying story of our sector when it comes to AI. Right now, if I go back to my emails, or you go back to your emails and put a filter on Gmail or your email folder for last maybe 72 hours or 48 hours and start counting how many times AI is referenced in the emails. I bet there will be more than 10, 15 occurrences of AI that is coming up. It's here, it's here for a very long time, and it is going to be here for a very long time. So the question is no longer how do we adopt it? The question is how do we do it ethically, inclusively, with responsibility? And this is why this project exists. So I'm going to go deeper into those questions. But the vibe, general vibe that I want for this session is if you are meeting me for the first time, or if you have already met me, then great. We are doing a conversation in my home or in a coffee shop over a topic that is heavy, that is going to be here for some good amount of time, and a topic that requires not just our knowledge, but it requires our heart. So we are going to talk about a big topic, but that vibe needs both you and me to talk to each other. Now, obviously, I can't see you because this is a webinar style conversation, but I do encourage you to use the chat button or the Q&A button or wherever my friend Sam says we should be placing questions. But let's place questions, thoughts. This is a room full of collective wisdom. So just because I spend a lot of my time joyfully being nerdy in AI doesn't mean that I am an expert in these topics. And I want to include, encourage, and invite your wisdom in how you are seeing these topics. So if you see something happening, if you know something happening around these topics, please use the chat button, Q&A button to share your ideas, wisdom, knowledge, any of those pieces. I'm going to take a 10-second break to see if there are any questions. And one more thing, every time I say you can ask a question or you can share an idea, please know you always have a minute to form your thoughts. You don't have to jump in. Take a minute if there is a question, if there is a thought, and I'll stop talking for 10 seconds.
Folks can use either the chat or the Q&A.
And Sam, you can tell me if there are no questions in some time, and then we can move forward.
I do not see any questions yet, although I know folks have joined because there are probably lots of questions there. I do have a sort of
Oh, go ahead.
key primary question, which I'm excited to find out more information from you about. But that is, how do we balance the duality right now of AI is here? AI is something that is in use. The sector has some adopted and some not adopted. How do we balance sort of the desire to adopt it with the fears around it? So that's kind of my overarching question for you about ethical safety protocol for being able to move forward with AI.
We start small. We start intentionally. And it's taken as if, oh, let's take a step back. We use the word transformation a lot in our, not just in our sector, I think the world. Transformation feels like that one thing that is going to change everything. And this AI is a transformative technology. Bring it into the organization, it's going to change everything. Um, Transformations don't work like that. The truth is, change works slowly, change works iteratively, change is evolving, and it takes our two levels. It works on two levels. One, we are changing and evolving something. So AI, for example, it's going to affect and impact our work in some good ways. But at the same time, the level two is we will need to protect some of the things that we truly, truly care about that are really important. For example, our humanity, our kindness, our compassion, the good things that makes us humans. So those two levels we need both of them as we are talking about AI. That intentionality, that bringing it is back to the point, we need to start small. We can't have, let's sign the biggest contract for the biggest vendor that's out there who speaks AI for most amount of time, and then have everyone somehow squeeze two more workshops of AI every day. That's not how we will get started. It will just be adding more work. We need to start small on why do we need to use AI? How do we need to use AI? How do we dream with it? The one top thing that I do want to encourage knowing everyone understand is AI is working at two levels for us right now. One, at an individual level. Meena is going to be impacted by AI, by all the 15 apps she has on her phone, as well as thinking of, are there any side hustles? Are there any places where I can use AI to help my nieces read more stories? Are there other AI tools that can help to translate the language on some of the existing YouTube videos for my mom? I am using AI at an individual level. The second level is Meena as an employee of an organization who's working for a mission. How do I use AI for that mission in a collective sense? So AI is here and impacting each of us in dual levels. So if we want to balance what Kristen, you asked, we really have to start small and understand how do we balance this individual versus the collective version. And we'll talk about that in a second. But it's just scratching the surface. It's a really great question, and I'm just giving green flags to it.
Thank you so much.
Amazing. Okay, so let's continue here. So I want to start with what's this big picture story. So this AI equity project, this has had two runs so far. In 2024 was the first year, 25 was the second, last year was the second, and about 1,500 nonprofits participated. I am going to share why the project exists and what it brought, all of that. But before I do that, I want to share two statistics out of it. One, 76 nonprofits, 1,500 nonprofits across states and Canada, no matter what the sector or subsector, all of them in this part of the study, 76% are using AI in some shape or form. I know it's changing, but at this moment it stands at 76%. Of those, only 15% have any form of AI policy. Do you see the gap that exists between those two statements? That is, when I read that two statements, it makes me want to work more, which I shouldn't say yes to everything, but that is the gap where we need to work collectively, where we need that's the place where organizations are working with AI without the immediate guardrails or immediate permissions that we need, how to use AI safely. Now, I love to go to the library, and one of the things that has really helped me in these last few years, I always include it in my presentation, is this quote from Edward Hale is, I am only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do. I am sharing this because AI, like many other things in the world right now, feels like a heavy topic. The gap that we saw between 76% and 15% might seem daunting to us. I work with organizations day in and out who have AI policies that hasn't gone to the staff. Organizations who have written some AI policy but feel it's not enough. And can I really share that with staff? Or a policy exists that no one uses. Or there are organizations who don't even know where to start with the AI policies. Regardless, I do come across many people, and including myself, who often feels, do I have a choice in these conversations? Can I even make a difference in these conversations? Does it matter what I think in these conversations? And so the slide I am bringing here in front of you is to remind that you do have a choice. And my one goal throughout this session is not just to give you some of these highlights or the truths that is coming to you and what can you do, but really my one goal is to help you understand this big question. This is the question of the AI Equity Project. This is why 2 years ago, we started doing this research. Will AI in nonprofits widen inequities or help us build a more just future? It sounds like Well, it sounded like an easy question when we first started. It felt like, okay, you ask 15 questions and you will figure out an answer and you will figure out a formula. My brain appreciates math, my brain appreciates science, and I wanted to look for evidence and numbers that can help me answer this question. And this is the story that we are chasing today through the AI Equity Project. Will it widen inequities or more just future? Now, I do understand something as I have been reading this question over and over again for the last 3 years, is this is a binary way of thinking. So we are going to talk about that. We can't have anything, a pen, a knife, a cryptocurrency, a technology, to just say, is it good or is it bad? That's a very black and white binary kind of a thinking. How do we ensure that on a scale of things, it is used for good, responsibly, with equity, with inclusion? That is a question of this room right now. So the first thing that you can do, of course, is download the AI Equity 2025 report. I don't know if Sam, if you have the link, do you?
Yep, I just put it in the chat.
Amazing, fantastic, thank you. Um, Please download the report if you haven't seen it already. It's a huge bulky report. The 2026 version will start soon. This year will include a few more things like a AI equity workbook that you can try to answer questions for yourself. But really, do read it, do download it. And the way I do encourage you to look at this report is not just to read by yourself. So the level one is read by yourself, look through the charts, take notes, and then go talk to someone. I definitely encourage. I have written it multiple times throughout the report. We cannot hold knowledge by ourselves if we want it to be turned into collective wisdom. We have to go and talk to each other. So when you download the report, go through the charts, you see something that speaks to you, go talk to someone in your network, in your peers, and your colleagues, and talk to them.
Mina, I want to call out too that the report is designed as like with slides, so
Uh-huh.
that I think the thing that's most exciting about it is to utilize that as a conversation starter in the board meeting, in the staff meeting, to walk through and be able to pull out the things that are questions and spark insights. I love the design of the report for that reason.
Thank you so much, Sam. I appreciate that. That report, just to give some like a quick, easy, fun story. That report includes a lot of ways how you can be using the report. We wanted to make it super accessible to use these insights. Some of us are very happy, nerdy people with data. We can sit with numbers, and I would dedicate 4 weeks to just read raw data. I usually keep just data sense making at the end of reading data. That's my reading data time. But some of us work operate differently. We need different ways to engage with the data. So I want you to understand that this data is important, and you can build your own unique, accessible ways to understand this data for your staff members. So how Sam said, take it to your board meetings, to your leadership meetings, and talk through that. Okay. My screen froze. 1 second. Um, all right. So how do we define AI equity? That is a part of the report, and I am slowly, softly getting to the part of what did this report say and what are some of the highlights of this report, which starts with how do we define AI equity? And the way I do it is this is the ethical development, deployment, and use of the systems, the AI systems that prioritize fairness, inclusivity, and justice, especially for historically marginalized or underserved communities. It's a long definition. It's a lot of words. Sam, I do see you unmuted yourself. Please
Yeah,
go
we're
ahead.
not seeing your slides, so it looked like perhaps you were reading from a slide. I just wanted to let you know we're not seeing your screen
Uh,
share.
oh, are you not seeing this? It shows your screen sharing. Should I stop screen sharing and start
Yeah,
restart?
maybe try stopping and restarting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
someone else is seeing it. Great. Okay. Other people see it. I just don't see it.
All
Perfect.
right. Amazing. So I can see. All right. Marilyn and Jill, thank you, my friends. Let me go back and share my screen again.
Now I see it too. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, of course. So AI equity is basically Simply speaking, it's the ethical development, deployment, and use of AI systems. If you have to take just three words out of this whole three-sentence definition, take the ethical development, deployment, and use of AI systems. Now, I want to point out something, even in my own definition that I've written. When we talk about AI equity, we talk about um, making sure that AI is running with values. A key question that comes up as someone on the other side who is designing some of these systems, who's using some of these systems in my world is whose values are we talking about? Whose values are we teaching AI? When we say even ethical development, deployment, and use of AI systems, what ethics? Whose ethics? Is it Meena's ethics? Is it Sam's ethics? Is it Jill's ethics that we are teaching our AI systems? That's where the interesting piece comes up. That's where the community centricity, collectivism, org values, all of these things come up. This is where AI policy comes up. Your AI policy it doesn't have to be fancy, by the way. It can be 15 sentences on a Word document, and that can be your policy very much. That language that you put on a document that you call your AI policy or AI values, that language is the representation of who you are as an organization when you want to work with AI systems. I want you to have that language. I need you to have that language because that is what is going to be the baseline information of what values are we teaching our AI systems. So if you have to take any definition for your leadership, for yourself, for your board, take that AI equities, that ethical, collective ethical development, deployment, and use of systems. Not all 33 of us in the room right now are going to be the people who are designing algorithms day in and out. But we will be the people, if we are not already, like leaders that we are going to be engaging, interacting with systems that use AI on a daily basis, which means we need our checklists, we need our guardrails, we need our permissions we can use, what to do when we deal with AI. Oh, my screen is acting up. So this is one of the page of the report. The objective of the study, like I mentioned, is about understanding, is AI widening the inequities or is it reducing it? The participants were all the nonprofit organizations across primarily North America. We did see some representation from Europe and Asia, but it was not very well marketed in other continents. The distribution involved working with social media, different newsletters, community organizations, a lot of different nonprofit channels, National Council of Nonprofits, and the responses for 2025 was 850 respondents with roughly 65% organizations coming from US and 35% coming from Canada. Now, in 2025, something interesting happens. If you go and download the reports, you will find two reports, a 2025 report and a 2024 report. The version for last year, that was interesting compared to the first year because you will see we updated and evolved our data collection last year to include some identity markers. So not just are you is a respondent a full-time or part-time employee or which subsector or nonprofit or what's the mission type. We included some deeper identity markers like gender. We included going beyond just the location. We included if it's a full-time role or contracted role or retired role or volunteer role to understand who are the participants and how are they showing up. We even asked for some of the identity markers like inequities that can create inequities, like do you identify yourself as a BIPOC professional or not, without getting too into ethnicity and race and all those kind of markers. But we did ask some very interesting, very useful markers that helped us to identify some inequity gaps. So if you go through the report, which I'm not pulling here now, but it will give you those pages. Some highlights of the report that came out were three. Oh, one, we found that AI readiness is still stuck in curiosity. So I have heard these statements. I'm pulling up some statements that you see on the right-hand side of the page. They are actual statements that I've heard in my conversations. Our intern is the AI expert because she used ChatGPT in college. Someone said in a conversation, the point of this AI readiness stuck in curiosity is I'm seeing a lot of organizations, both anecdotally as well as from the data, who are still thinking about readiness in terms of tech stack. As in, do we have enough data? Do we have the right tools? Do we have that tech stack that can support it? But the piece that we do need to understand is AI readiness is not just about the tech stack itself. It's also about the people. It's about the people who are working in and out with this AI technology. And that one person cannot, that intern, that Jane, that one person cannot be the only person who once said they're interested in data to be the only person thinking about AI. Now, I'll bring back something that I do want to add to that point. The second thing that came out of the report was equity concerns are loud. That means we did ask, for example, a question, how aware are you of AI? We also asked, how aware are you of AI inequities or AI harms that exist? The number of people who understand or said, I know what is AI, was way up higher from 2024 to 2025. The number of people who said they know about AI inequities or AI harms was here, and 2025 was here. So that gap between knowing what AI is versus what AI harms is, that's still something, a gap that we need to work on. Two, people do understand. This comes up in every conversation, in every AI assessment that I do. There is a camp of people in our staff who is worried. Is AI going to be harmful for our communities? Will it mean more in exclusion? But they just don't know. How do we fix it? How do we fix those data equity gaps? How do we fix those AI harms that can happen? How do we fix that biases that can happen? So no one knows who is in charge. That's still a problem in the sector. In most organizations, that's happening. If you are seeing yourself in these points, please, I hope you feel validated in some of those concerns. The third one that kept coming up and came up in 2025 as well is nonprofits want AI for good, but they feel ill-equipped. So we bought a tool, any tool. There was no budget for training, so it's all down to our new MGO, Jane. She's our data person. Now, do you see Jane is not really supposed to be doing the training for the tool, but now that poor Jane, she is now going to create curriculum for training the staff members on this new tool if there is no budget for training. So the learning here is that we do know what is AI. We do need to think about AI in a different way where it's not just about the tech stack. If we know about and understand about some parts of data equity, we have to ensure to figure out a plan, what to do if things go wrong or if things are not done in the right way. And number four, we need to make space for budget for training, space and budget for training, for learning, for collective learning. Now, I need you to know 5 AI equity truths, and then I promise I'm going to open and stop sharing my screen and we can talk together. Some of the stats that I want to share. AI is reshaping our work. 76% are using AI tools. That means most of these people are using AI on an ad hoc basis. That means they're using for some emails, for tweaking an analysis, for working on a report, for creating an image. Of the 76%, I can guarantee you, based on my deep work that I get to do, that I enjoy to do with nonprofits, is not all of them are ready or sure how to connect it to their mission. People are using it on a one-on-one basis. Meena, as an employee, might decide to use it on her analysis. Sam might use it on her email, but we aren't talking about with each other, and we don't know how to connect it to the mission that is about supporting homelessness in the city. How can AI be used for removing homelessness in the city? We haven't figured out that formula yet. And 15% have any AI policy or governance. And the familiarity with AI that rose to 80%. The biases familiarity, that didn't rise in the same way that familiarity with AI rose in the 2 years. So that question that we had, will it widen inequities or not? By the way, this slide has a lot of numbers. Don't worry about it. It's also from the report, so you can find it. But the question, AI, could it widen inequities? Well, it might if we don't make space for policy or training or those equity frameworks that we need in the organization. But I also know, as someone who has worked with this technology for a very, very long time, I want you to know that this is a powerful technology. It can do wonders. I have had thrill watching it manage tons and tons of data in a few minutes and provide this impeccable analysis that might have taken me so many back and forth conversations and biases of humans. So it's a powerful technology. It can self-learn, it can quickly adjust, it can give you the measures it needs you to have. The only thing is we need to have the intention, the policy, the training, so we can challenge it, question it, and embrace it appropriately when it needs to be embraced. Last slide, what can you do now? 3 things, because I know someone would have asked, if not Sam would have asked me, Meena, what can we do now? So I want to give 3 things that we can do. Well, first, obviously, read the report. But the first thing I want you to do, it's the second thing after reading the report, is advocate in your organizations for collective learning. It could be experimentation with AI tools, and let's bring back what we have learned and share with each other. It could be let's bring someone and have a personalized webinar for us. It could be let's all go to a conference and learn something together and then come back and discuss. But there has to be that collective learning space. 2, become friends with your data. We are not friends with our data. When we are friends with our data, we are curious, we want to learn, we want to ask, we want to say no, we want to change a few things. Know your data, who is in that data, who is in your community. And most importantly, push for those policies, that AI equity policy or data equity policy as or before the adoption grows. All right, I'm going to take a pause. I want to keep lots of space for Q&A and questions. Sam, I do see you unmuted. Go ahead, my friend.
I did. I wanted to encourage folks that if you have questions about your own AI adoption, about how to create balance and equity, drop them in the chat, add them to the Q&A so we can bring them to Meena. I have a couple of questions and resources that I wanted to dive into. My first question is about policy, because that gap between those who use AI in their work and those who have no policy, I think is a gap to address and is a starting place for a lot of us. I know that N10 has a lot of policy tools, and I can share this, but I wanted to get your thoughts on them. Like, is that a good starting place for an organization looking to develop AI policy?
Absolutely. That's a great place to start. Some resources exist on the internet already. I've seen organizations trying to use ChatGPT or Copilot to draft a policy itself. Like, can you give me some language? That is also a great place to start. The points to remember are 2 or 3 is 1, any policy template or example that you pick from Gen AI or N10 or any place, make sure that you're personalizing it enough that is relevant to your organization, but not just the organization and mission, but also your geography. Some AI policies for Canada will look very different from US, or will look very different from Europe, depending and based on some of the data policies that is geography based, some internet data protocols. And so make sure that your policy is relevant to not just your organization, but also your geography. Then number 2 point is some templates might have way too much information that might not be relevant for your organization. So don't worry about somehow fitting that and making it true for your organization, but take what most applies and get started. Share it with the staff members. Let them know that this is an iterative work, evolving work, and that you will be reviewing that document over and over again every year until we get to a place where we all feel great about it. But until then, even if some of us are feeling great, let's start using it. Let's referencing it. An example of using AI policy is I teach people when you're writing your prompt on let's say ChatGPT, attach your AI policy, whatever shape it is, and say, I want the output to be aligned with this AI policy. Can you ensure that? So not only you are going to double check when you double check that it's aligned with the AI policy or not, your chat GPT, your Gen AI tool is also learning parallelly who you are, again, going back and reading that document and making sure your outputs are aligned with that. So
It looks like someone's saying that these policy templates are blank. I dropped a link into the N10. I'll pull up the N10 site and resend that in just a minute. Um, okay, wanted to jump to tools.
yeah.
So I will go find some policy templates for you and drop them back into the chat. But I
Yeah.
want to talk about tools because I think that there is concern when you think about safety, equity. I mean, certainly the question I started off with is how do we balance sort of our fears around AI? And are there tools that you recommend that you feel like these are tools that are taking the questions of being human centered in mind?
I'll say most tools are all about efficiency. That's it. That's what they claim that, we are going to save you time, we are going to help you raise more money. Most of them are about productivity and efficiency. So the onus, the responsibility of ensuring that what comes out of these tools are human centric is on the humans, on us. And all the tools that exist out there, you can try a few Gen AI tools. There are tools that are specific to purposes. So, for example, Jasper AI is just about creating your marketing materials, or Canva is about creating your posts that you can create for social media. All of these tools that exist, you can use. I want to go connect it back with the policy piece. Is two ways you can create the policies. One is you can have an institutional wide policy for any AI tool, how we use, this is how we use. So N10 examples that Sam, you're sharing, they're very institutional wide AI policy examples. The
Yep.
second examples of tools and ensuring that it's human centric is, for example, donor search or Virtuous. They have these tools that they use for segmentation, donor segmentation, and they have these AI features in their tools. The way I've seen organizations is they write tool specific AI policy. So I'm working with some fundraising teams who have their 7 people fundraising teams. They have an org-wide institutional AI policy. But we are drafting a AI policy specific to how they will use this particular fundraising tool that has AI. And we have included the donor bill of rights. We have included what does it mean if donor needs to know how this fundraising team is using AI, and what does it mean when donor says, no, I don't want my data for you to segment me and give me appeal letters. We are drafting all that detailed information in that tool specific AI policy. So to your two questions, to the two parts, there are tools. Yes, there are some generic tools, Gen AI tools, and there are some very specific tools for the purposes to make it human centric. The onus is on us. The AI policies help. And then number three, the AI policies can work in two ways. One, your org-wide general policy, and then two, tool-specific policy. Now that these fundraisers, in my example, will be referencing over and over again how to ensure that they are using this segmentation tool exactly in the most appropriate way. So I know I'm not giving names to there are any good tools, but hopefully this helps to some extent.
Um, a couple of things that you mentioned. AI is being built into almost all the tools that we're using,
Yeah.
whether it be calendaring tools, email tools, search engine tools. But I did want to flag for folks that the tool I think most people think of is like a Chat GPT OpenAI model around just a efficiency task oriented, sort of thought partner tool. And we have two tools that we recommend regularly. Claude, because of their focus on human centered design. They're an organization that sort of spun out of the Chat GPT team and developed a human centered AI policy that then was adopted by the UN. So we always engage with Claude instead of Chat GPT because as a tool, I think has a few built-in features that are a little reassuring to my nervous energy. And Practivated is a tool that we are so in love with. It's a tool developed by a fundraiser for fundraisers to be able to practice their ask before they make a donor call. And it acts as a coach to you so that before you call that donor or call that sponsor, it is a tool for you to practice that. And we're big fans of Mallory Erickson's work in that space because she's adopted some human centered policies, some equity policies, and some ethical fundraising policies to really create a tool that is very human centered in its approach. You also mentioned Canva and Jasper, so I'm gonna drop those here. We have a question that's come up, and I'll drop a link to Practivated too, just in case folks want to
Yes.
learn more about that.
Yeah, plus
Um,
one on activated, by the way.
Kristen Barrows specifically says, what are your thoughts on schools either allowing or not allowing students to use AI? And is there a policy that you're aware of specific to this topic?
Kristen, what a great question, and so not doesn't come to me often. My thoughts on schools using AI or AI tools. Well, can I be honest for a minute and say I do a lot of these AI workshops, and do you know where I get all the inspiration of how these exercises should be? I go back to schools, how they teach. Most of my Fridays is going and reading kids' books in the library to find out how access and curiosity is built in kids' books, in school books. And the way I'm teaching the youth in colors to learn about data and AI is also coming from kindergarten books. So I think school is the perfect place. We are dealing with an audience, these kids who are in their, they're still learning what curiosity means. They are finding their formula of how to work with new tools, new ideas, new concepts. So we don't have to give them, again, because I'm being asked, I'm going to be telling what I think should be happening. I think, Kristen, what should be happening is we can introduce these tools as a way of curiosity generation. Like not just here's a tool, go apply it and start using it, but using some interesting ways to think, to dream, to think if you were to tell what is 50 years from now look like with the technology. Honestly, as an adult, I have fear, I don't know the answer, and I am going to struggle. But kids have that natural ability to dream. So if we can nurture that, steward that, we can show them how to dream and then slowly introduce this technology. I don't believe that if we completely cut off all sources from technology, they are not going to be exposed to it. The idea with AI can be much more beneficial if we constantly cultivate an environment where learning is the first approach, is the first step, curiosity is an add-on to that step, and whether or not to use AI becomes our personal choice at the end of it. That whole step of dreaming and learning and nurturing our curiosity and imagination, that somehow was lost. That was never given to us. We were dictated how to use technology by big tech companies, but we lost a step of dreaming and imagination before getting into the tools. So what schools should do is continue what they're doing because I get to read the books, but then also nurture that curiosity without wondering too much about whether they should quickly get access or not. Let's first open that up. Calculators existed. I learned programming in my school, even though there were all these amazing tools where I could write huge programs and algorithms. We were told you can only write program on a notepad. On a notepad, which doesn't have these automatically autocomplete sentences of programming. And we used to be really mad that time, like, oh my gosh, why is my teacher not allowing me to write the whole thing using an editor that has everything inbuilt. And I understand the reasoning now is you want to give a blank canvas space for a student to do their thing, to find out what are the 15 different ways to do the same thing. And then now I can much more easily use some of these tools. So I think nurturing that imagination space is really, really important.
I love that. Kristen, great question. Um, I wanted to ask you, Meena, for those who are looking to figure out how to move forward with AI. I think fundraising AI is a resource that's out there for those in the nonprofit sector. But clearly, based on your data and your research, this is really an evolving process, an iterative sort of conversation and exploration. I am also super hopeful about AI being a solution partner to us in the big mission centered questions that we're trying to answer, like hunger and housing and policies that are more human centered. But I'm curious for those who are looking to like build their base, like their starting blocks. We talked about policy. What about training? Are there AI training tools you recommend out there for a nonprofit practitioner, a fundraiser to be signing up for, registering for? Where have you found good resources?
Sam, take this question and show the steps that I usually do
Yes, yeah.
for nonprofits, and so it might include some tools. Or hold on, this is okay. This is the slide that I want to show. This exactly has the steps that I do as my in my business and my work with nonprofits, and you're welcome to do the same and replicate in your organization. I start with this is not just about the tools. I'm giving you the recipe of exactly how you bring AI into the organization. You start with a survey. You start with understanding who's in your organization when it comes to AI. Most likely, there by this point, there are two camps in the organization. One camp that loves AI, that wants to experiment, that's happy about it, already using it. And then there's one camp who hates it, uses the word AI is a thief. What do we do? How do we bring these two groups of people who are working for the same mission and understand where they are? So if you want to bring AI into your organization, you have to start with understanding where is my organization with these group of people who are supporting this mission. So start with a survey, document some of those problems that you find out. That survey, that assessment is going to give you some good use cases, your AI champions, the people who are worried about using AI too much. By the way, the people who say they don't want to use AI, they are your best resources for creating those guardrails. They are the ones who are going to ensure humanity is centered in the outputs of AI. So don't alienate them, don't isolate them, bring them in and use that survey to find your use cases. That's when your step 3 and 4 comes in. You start slow, you start experimenting, you start using some tools like Proactivated, Claude, ChatGPT, depending on your comfort and pricing and all of those different other factors. You choose your tools selectively. One quick tip on that step is I create something called technology map. See, we get access to so many tools in our emails that we don't even know where we are signed up for and where are we paying monthly fee. So what I do is I create this very huge document for myself as well as my nonprofit clients, where start with what tools do you have access to? What do you use daily, monthly, once a year, everything that you can find in your email. And then start writing down, do you pay for that? Is it free? Is it subscription based? Another column, does it have AI? What AI features? Are you using all AI features? Map it all out on a document to see what tools do you have, how much of them already have some AI or don't have AI, how much of it you are paying or not paying. And then you set up a process for experimentation. The easiest way to test new tools in an organization, or the easiest way to experiment in an organization, is to democratize testing. Allow everyone to test tools and bring back that learning if we want to do that experimentation. And so somewhere I'm getting towards the bottom of that list slowly. And so you do some experimentation, you bring back those lessons, you create some space for learning. So Sam, the question you asked, how do we do the budgeting and training? And so you do some budgeting and training. I recommend at least 2 to 3 collective trainings for every staff member in the same room. And then you can divide your trainings depending on departments or role-based or use case-based. And then by the end of this list is you decide which tools do you want to stick with. So fundraisers might very much stick with Proactivated, for example. HR staff, they might not need to do anything with Practivated at all. They might use something else. And so that's where you realize what you can do. I literally use the same recipe over and over again for every organization.
So, for those who are looking to figure out how do I move forward AI intentionally, ethically, equitably within our organization, they can engage you as a consultant and educator and teacher in that. Is that right?
Absolutely. I work as a resident AI advisor for a lot of organizations setting this up. This is a work that all the steps you are seeing is a work of 9 to 10 months. This is so if you are doing it in your organization, please know that you're not looking for overnight changes, big magic happening in 1 month, getting access to one sales for Einstein Analytics or one tool. You're looking for a change that is iterative, happening over time in slow and intentional ways, bringing all the voices in your mission because you all are working for the same why. And so that's our focus. Technology is the enabler, AI is the enabler. We are still making sure that our focus is on that why that we're working with.
I love that. I'm curious before we move on from this beautiful recipe, do you know any funding resources for this work?
Some organizations are doing some of the work. Sam, I can send you a list of the organizations that
Great.
I know. Yeah,
I'll include that in the recording send out that we do.
fantastic.
Um, and then we have a question that came from one of the attendees that says, how do you handle AI skeptics outside of the organization? Like those who think it is evil, and for example, those who cite the harm to the environment.
Harm to the environment. That's an interesting one because I've seen that as the stopper for many people.
Hmm.
Well, as long as if you're talking about the skeptics within the organization, I start with the survey, the assessment. The assessment you see is interesting meeting place for both the camps. Both the happy people with AI and not so happy people with AI, they meet in the same AI assessment. So start there. You will find who are your skeptics. You will find the language the skeptics are using to say, this is why I am not interested in AI because of so and so and so reason. The part that I do tell the skeptics in any organization I'm working is that participating in AI workshops is our responsibility. This is a technology that is going to stay here for a very long amount of time, whether or not we like it, whether or not we are interested in it, whether or not we engage with it, but it is going to be here. So learning about it is our responsibility. Wanting to use it or not is your choice. So, hey, skeptics, if you are not interested to use Claude to clean up your report, that's up to you. Don't. That's your choice. But learning about it in those 2 to 3 collective learning spaces of workshops, that's part of our responsibility to know how to ensure that donor data is safe, how to ensure that any output coming to you from someone who has used AI is still ensuring that that has that human centricity in those outputs. That is part of our responsibility. So survey helps to get that language, how to talk to the skeptics, what to talk about to the skeptics. The second piece is providing evidence, specifically to the environmental issue. The environmental issue I've seen a lot of people use it as it's environmentally unfriendly and I'm not going to use it. Again, great, your choice. Don't use it. Learn, that's responsibility. But with the environmental piece, collect evidence, as much evidence as you can. What is the impact? Where is it impacting? We talk about water, we talk about electricity. What is the impact? And then choose your course of action. We cannot choose our course of action simply based on blanket statements that comes to us that it's causing effects in Mexico over water. Yes, it is, but find out. It's our responsibility. To what extent, how much, what will it affect? People talk about carbon footprint in travel, but North America is also one of those places that travels a lot, going to taking those long distance flights to Europe in beaches in Asia. So are we stopping flights? No, we are not. So the question is, find evidence and find appropriate courses of action, what we can do to move this needle forward. And then let's learn together. Finally, you choose it to use it or not is your choice. That's how I usually deal with most of the skeptics.
I myself was a skeptic and
Mm.
only have started to adopt AI in the past year and a half.
Mm. Yeah.
And a lot of it came from doing some sort of follow up on thought leadership, like yourself, like Josh Hirsch, like Nathan Chappelle, really trying to understand what the conversation was, the impact to the environment, understand the mitigation. And one of the people that really transformed my thinking was Anne Murphy. I don't know if you've worked with Anne
Hmm.
before.
Yes.
And we had a conversation with both you on the podcast, and we had a conversation with Anne Murphy on our podcast. And Anne is someone that I thought had a really interesting perspective for this specific conversation, which was AI is being used, AI is being integrated into everything in our life. And my question is, are we going to have people that are mission centered, that are focused on solutions, utilizing it, or are we only going to have those that we move into the evil category of causing harm utilizing it? It is being used. I would look to how do we utilize AI to answer some of these hard questions and work with us as a thought partner, because AI can be an awesome thought partner for solutions. And I think that we're moving into an age where we're going to have AI partnering with us in collaboration for solution building if people seeking solution are the ones using it.
Yeah.
So it was a game changer for me to think about, like, do I only want those that are working toward capitalistic endeavors, only want those who are working toward harm to be utilizing this tool? I mean, inherently AI is a tool. It's
Yeah.
not, good or bad. It's how we use it. And how do we, as folks that are
Right.
focused on humans, people, mission, utilize it to be feeding the language model, to be
Yeah.
pushing the algorithm, to be really asking and encouraging sort of the good
Hmm.
aspects of it, and maybe problem solve the water use and problem solve the environmental impact, and hopefully lots of other issues.
No, you're absolutely right, Sam. I want to. This is reminding me to encourage everyone to think when we speak of skeptics, people who are not happy about AI, um, we need to be prepared. And I'm placing. I'm a person who experiments a lot with technology. I come from the technology background, so it doesn't scare me. Mostly makes me want to experiment. So I don't consider myself skeptic. I do consider myself an atheist, though. So trying to question constantly, is it needed? Why is it needed? When we speak of skeptics in our organization, I want us to understand that it's not just that we'll have one conversation with the skeptics and expect them that here, now you should use it. I talked to you about this, and now you should use it. This is a bit of a culture, a softer permission that we are giving ourselves, and it takes time. Some of the skeptics might take a very long time to get onboarded with the experimentation with AI, and that's okay. The piece that I constantly say in my work when I do this AI resident advisory work is I am going to talk to you over and over. I'm here as this AI person in your organization for the next 9 months. Bring your questions, bring your skepticism, bring your challenges, bring your problems, your issues. And I am not working to change your mind that you should use AI. I am only going to give you the answers as someone who has been working with this for a very long time, who has been thinking about this for a very long time. And in that process, I need you to understand who I am as a person, who is responding to you. This is not response coming from a big tech company. So how do you take this response? Building that feeling of safety with this technology is your job. Giving you all the information is mine. And so let me do that for you. So talking to skeptics should be considered with like that time that we are not expecting them to overnight change their mind, but we are giving them enough ample space and opportunity to be seen and heard.
I love that. I have one last question that has appeared here that I want to close with in our last 2 minutes, which Marilyn just asked from the environmental perspective. Do you know if there are any responsible AI data centers that are using solar power or doing other mitigation?
Marilyn, that's a great question. Unfortunately, I don't. I keep looking for those and I haven't found any in my network so far. I did come across a good book around the environmental harms. I will look for the title again, and then Sam, once I find it, I will send it your way.
Amazing. Well, Meena, I really appreciate that you are in this work, that you are asking these hard questions, that you are engaging with organizations about how to adopt policies moving forward, how to address skeptics, how to move forward the big details. We'll gather all of these links and send it out to everyone so that people can do that research, can dive in. Is there any sort of parting wisdom that you have as we sign off today?
Just one. I have one, yes. You are going to feel, there are going to be moments inevitably when you will feel, what's the point of engaging? Like everybody is engaging with AI, so I have to. You might feel annoyed, you might feel irritated, you might feel unseen, excluded, you might feel taken advantage of. All of these things are, I'm sorry to say, it's inevitably going to be part of the equation because this technology is going to be here for a very long time. But the part that gives me hope is exactly the same thing. That struggle that we are having. Am I making a difference? Will my voice make a difference? If my action of one learning, talking to one colleague, learning about one report, is that going to make a difference? That questioning that we are having right now of how to make a difference, if it will make a difference, is giving me hope for all the good parts of our humanity. We are questioning, we are struggling, and right now, all the struggle, as painful as it might be, that is giving me my optimism, source of my formula that that's going to help us prevail humanity. So please struggle. Please feel the painful moments. Please don't worry about ignoring and how do we get rid of those moments. That's where we are growing.
Well, thank you, Meena. I see lots of thanks and appreciation in the comments as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We are out of time, but I'm going to follow up with Meena and get lots of other resources, gather them together, and get them off to you. Good luck in your fundraising journey. Good luck in your AI journey. I hope that you take little steps when you can to move that needle toward AI equity. And the new survey, or is there a new survey coming out?
In April,
Okay.
yes.
So a new survey, join us, participate, click through and
Yeah.
participate and give your information so that Meena can include you in all of the data that she's collecting. Thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks so much. Bye.